Meeting of Park and Rec for Town of New Canaan. Start with roll call.
David Chang.
George Pennington, Doug Murphy,
Keith Ritchie.
Gene Goodman,
okay, anybody, any other commission members on Zoom?
Gene Goodman.
Oh, I got one. Okay, we do have a quorum with 7 of us. The next order of business. Oh, hello. Okay. Just once you state your name, roll call.
Lindsay Heron.
Thank you. And it's the next order of business to approve the minutes from our meeting on April 9th. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Dave, thank you. Second, Keith. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, thank you, Gene. Got you. So they were approved. Next order of business. Hillary, welcome.
Thank you.
A great yearly update with what's going on at the Carriage Park.
Great. Let me just sit here so I can go through the presentation. But so John's point, but I have just a brief presentation to give you kind of a little background and overview of the Carriage Barn and what we have in here.
You could have my copy too. It's good.
Oh, does everyone have that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone has that.
Okay.
but-
Let's see, that's the end.
Okay.
Okay, so. We can start this way. So just the. New Canaan Society of the Arts is the nonprofit organization that operates the Carriage Barn Arts Center, and our mission is to promote the visual and performing arts and enrich the community through our programming, exhibitions, educational and cultural experiences. Just to give some background, if you're not aware, it was established in 1977, so we're coming up on our 50th year soon, by a group of local artists and patrons. We are supported by our members, by our donors through our program income and other support through sponsors and grants that we receive and other sort of fundraising income. Our exhibition, our sort of schedule of programming really revolves around 10 major art exhibitions that we do each year. These include major juried exhibits that draw artists from sort of throughout the region and even beyond the region, as well as shows that are more geared towards local artists. And then some of the highlights, other exhibit highlights are the New Canaan High School student show that we do every March that we've been doing now, I think 13 years. And a couple of years ago, our board of directors established a scholarship that we award each year as part of that show to one of the students. And then one of our newest programs, which is the Waverly Park Arts Festival, which I think you all are aware of, and I was here a few meetings ago about getting the approvals to do that again this year. But so this was last year's poster that was all over town, and I don't know if any of you were able to be there, but it was fantastic. Last year was our second year. We really grew it to a much bigger event, and it all went just very smoothly, and we're really excited to continue with that. And everyone, there's just been so much sort of buzz and interest in it. So I will get to that a little bit more later. But the gallery in the park, we're open Wednesdays through Saturdays, as well as for other sort of special events and programs. The admission is free. We're open to, everyone is welcome to come in and view the exhibits. Our attendance throughout the year is about 12,000 is sort of what we estimate. And then just some background on how we operate. We're led by a full-time executive director, which is myself. We have 3 part-time employees who work in various roles and kind of operating all of the programming that we do. We have a board of directors and an advisory board. Our members and donors, we have about 500 members and donors who are, very actively participating in our activities. roughly about half of those live in New Canaan and the others are from kind of surrounding towns. Our annual budget is about $350,000 a year. We operate basically at a break even, on our budget. And just in terms of our expenses, no rent is paid to the town of New Canaan. We, have been in that space rent-free for, as you know, many years. And our organization pays all of the operating expenses of maintaining the building. And there is a sculpture group that is downstairs, which is a separate organization of artists, sculptors who have a workspace down there. They do pay a kind of nominal rent to us that kind of covers their sort of heat and utilities and use of the space. That group is made up of probably a group of about 15, and they're all there most Fridays, and some of them come in more or less frequently. But they have been there as a group for, I think, about 25 years now. And then just to sort of quickly run through our major exhibitions. Our season kicks off every September with our annual member show. It's our biggest exhibit of the year that kind of goes through October, and we do lots of programs around that exhibit, and it does coincide with the arts festival that we do. And if you want to pass around those programs. So the arts festival that I mentioned, this was sort of the program that we handed out to everyone who attended last year. We probably had thousands, a couple of thousand at least throughout the day. It was from 10 to 4. It's a free, free community event. We had about 50 artists and artisans all in the area to sort of the left of the Waveney House and then going down towards the theater and the carriage barn. They set up their own 10 by 10 tents. We made sure to have a real mix of artists and artisans with all different kinds of art and other, handmade products, multiple different price points. So many people came and, just could discover artists, buy something there, or, follow up with them later to commission things. Everyone who participated was just so happy with it. We also had some food trucks there. We had live entertainment, the New Canaan Town Band and some young performers and some other sort of local bands in the area. There were dancers and stilt walkers sort of roaming around. So it was just incredibly festive and a beautiful day, and just a great addition to kind of a new park tradition, for Waveney and for the carriage barn. So we're very excited to continue with that. Deck the Walls is another one of our newer exhibits that's become just really popular and fun. It's a sort of holiday exhibition that we do in December. We've really involved the community with this and local businesses or creative people or other organizations in the community that create these one-of-a-kind wreaths that we display. And that's kind of the heart of the exhibition, but it also includes small artwork and holiday gifts. And we do lots of great programming throughout that. Like this is a picture of our wreath making night. Then in the winter, we always have our photography show, one of our 2 major juried exhibits. We had about 750 submissions from photographers in the area to, participate in this exhibit, and then the juror selects about 100 or so images. So very competitive and very high quality exhibit. Again, we do a lot of panel discussions and talk and, a lot of opportunities for aspiring photographers and established photographers to really come together and learn and just participate throughout. And that's followed by the New Canaan High School show that I mentioned. And that's a picture of the scholarship winner from last year. And this is just always such an incredible exhibit and just really puts a spotlight on, the quality of the program at the high school, quality of, the incredible talent of these students and their families that, really support the arts, and it's just great to shine a light on that in New Canaan. Spectrum is our other juried show that is not photography, but all mediums. This is what is on exhibit now at the Carriage Barn. There's a different theme to this show every year, and this year it's Spring Fever, and it is such a beautiful show. I really hope you come see it before it ends in about a week or so. This year, when the exhibit first opened, we actually partnered with the Garden Club, and several of their members came in and selected a piece that was in the show and created an arrangement that was inspired by that piece of art, and they were all displayed throughout the Carriage Barn for the first, few days of the show, and there's a picture of one of them there. But it was just a great tie-in and another way to kind of bring some creativity in there. Tomorrow evening, actually, we have a big flower arranging kind of wine tasting event that kind of ties into that spring fever theme as well. And then we're working on our next big exhibit right now, which is Art in the Windows, which is not at the Carriage Barn, but downtown New Canaan. And it's really, we partner with the Chamber of Commerce. It's really an opportunity for the Carriage Barn to get that visibility downtown among, the local businesses, among people living and shopping and working in New Canaan. And we put artwork in almost all of the businesses downtown in the windows for 3 weeks in June. And those are all for sale. And we have sort of a big kickoff event, May 30th, but the Playhouse is one of our new partners this year, and they're going to be hosting the kickoff event and some other things throughout Art in the Windows downtown. So that's, something very different. And then, we also try and leave room in our schedule throughout the year to do kind of special exhibits, shorter things, or when opportunities come up. We've partnered with various organizations on these. We've done, an outdoor sculpture installation. We worked with Star, the Glass House, and Stand Together Against Racism to do a student showcase of artwork that is kind of socially motivated. And then we did a show a couple of years ago that tied in with Caffeine Carburetors and was sort of artwork around the automobile when they had their event in the park. Okay, and then I wanted to also just talk about our programming, because we really, over the last 4 years, we've really focused on growing the types of programs that we do. And have brought on staff to really keep that going, and that is really just driving more and more people to the Carriage Barn, getting them aware of what we do and engage with what we do, and just, bringing them to the park, bringing them into our organization. So we've really focused and have probably quadrupled at least the number of programs that we do each year. And these are really kind of centered around educational programs, community building and entertainment programming, and then also more sort of fundraising, donor cultivation. And these pictures are in a brand new classroom space that did not exist a few years ago. So when we did a big renovation in 2021, which we worked with the town on, and our organization contributed, funds to make that renovation happen, we were able to add this new space. We also renovated the bathrooms and made them ADA compliant, created an office space and a more kind of welcoming entrance and reception area to the Carriage Barn. So we've really put that classroom space to use through all different kinds of things. And if you go to the next slide, these are some educational programs, drawing and printmaking and painting that we do for kids and adults. And then also some of our community and entertainment events. We had a farm to barn brunch that we worked with the New Canaan Farmers Market on. We've done lots of free drop-in family programs just to really kind of bring in those new to town families with very young kids and sort of get them into the Carriage Barn and aware of our programs. We do yoga and sound baths on Saturday mornings. Flower arranging, as I mentioned, concerts and chamber music. We have our final chamber music concert this Sunday of the season. And then, you know, other kinds of programming that is geared towards our sort of patrons and collectors and you know, kind of educating them on the art market and sort of bringing in some you know, authors or curators or sort of luminaries in the art world to come and speak to our kind of followers. And then I just wanted to mention how we also really have made you know, part of our kind of, you know, been very intentional about trying to really build partnerships with other organizations, New Canaan, you know, community organizations and beyond, you know, Fairfield County as well. But I would say almost every other nonprofit and organization in New Canaan we have worked with in one way or another, whether they use our space for a meeting or program or fundraiser, or we partner on you know, an exhibit or other kinds of programs, and that goes as well for the business community. You know, we really try and build those relationships. And then also, you know, with marketing, you know, we really try and, you know, work hard to, you know, get ourselves out there and build awareness by, you know, working with all of the sort of publications and outlets. And then I mentioned this, the renovation project that we did. The other thing we also completed last summer or fall was we renovated the kitchen space that is in the Carriage Barn, which was desperately in need of kind of an upgrade. And because the Carriage Barn is also rented quite a bit for fundraisers and other gatherings, that space really needed to be, you know, sort of brought up to date. So so we've really been, you know, I think focused on just really improving the building as a whole, and not only that, but, you know, bringing more people in there. And then our next project, which last time I was here, I talked a little bit about sort of some of our priorities that we really wanted to address. And one of those was the courtyard space, which, you know, these are some pictures of kind of how it looks now and what it looks like in the winter, which is really just not, it's not very conducive. I mean, we do use it at times, but it's really been something that we've wanted to address. And I'm very excited that that is underway, that we're moving towards that. We applied for a grant in 2020. Well, in 2023, we were awarded a grant from the state of Connecticut and the Connecticut Humanities. We were one of 34 organizations in the state that got this grant. It was very competitive. And we asked for funds to, you know, really kind of take on a renovation of this space. And we've been working with Tiger and the town on kind of what our wish list is. But the project is going to create a new surfacing within that space, lighting, a sound system, sort of putting everything into place so we can really use that to expand and create programming in that space. And it also kind of serves as a link between the gallery and the park. And you know, sometimes people walking in the park don't really you know, unless our big doors are open, they're not, you know, really quite sure if they can come in. So I think this is, you know, gonna just be a wonderful kind of facelift and really just complete, you know, everything that we've been building on and take us to the next level. I know this visual is not very easy to read, but
how much is the project going to be?
the grant was for $128,000, and there is a 20% match, which the Carriage Barn and the town of New Canaan are, equally contributing that 20%. So the total project's about 150,000.
But that's what it will cost to put it in. When you say will enhance programming, will it enhance any revenue for that generation?
It's not really designed for that, but, I do think, as we go forward right now, when groups or individuals rent the carriage barn for an event, that we could potentially, charge if they want to use that courtyard space, that would be an additional charge. So, we're not quite there yet, but, I also think, we kind of anticipate once this is done, we would love to, get, maybe get a grant or get an individual to underwrite an outdoor series or performances that could be sort of free for the community, like, similar to how Waveney does the Wednesday night big concerts on the lawn, something a little more intimate and kind of, on a quarterly basis, do, whether it's dance or music, do some performances in that space that really bring it to life. So those, those are things that we would need additional funding to kind of put those on. So that we can offer them free of charge.
Can I ask you a question, just clarifying, what is then the structure with the relationship between your organization and the town? Because you're mentioning that you rent the space, right? So you are leasing the space from the town, but then you can rent it out. And how does the relationship with the town work, both in terms of cost, revenue, and then of course, authorization to, do, especially when things that are really
Yeah.
how you're, using money.
So, we don't rent the space from the town. We have a lease with the town that is, has been in place for many years, but, that gives us, use of the space. But also outlines that we are responsible for all the costs, of the maintaining the utilities and the insurance and, anything that goes on in the building to keep it operating. And we are sort of granted permission to rent the space out, for events like that to help us, cover some of those expenses.
Has there been any talk about, because I've been to quite a few events there, about the acoustics inside? When, because it's, a lot of people, I could be sitting as close to Lindsay and we're
Yes.
shouting at each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is definitely like the next big thing on our wish list in terms of, it's actually the lighting and the AV being the acoustics and sound, but also kind of our projector, installing something a little more, fixed like this that is a little more professional than what we currently have to set up when we're using the space in that way. So we have sort of taken some initial steps to figure out, what we would need to do. It's definitely a major project, and as with those things, it can sort of be anywhere from 50,000 to 500,000. So, but that is something that we have sort of talked about with, with our 50th anniversary coming up. That could be a great opportunity for us to kind of take that project on and fundraise. For,
Would carpeting help?
some capital.
If carpeting would be, or is that?
I think, what's been mentioned is potentially putting panels, more up on
Okay.
the ceiling that would absorb sound that way, just with a stone floor and just
Yeah.
the traffic and how it's used. I don't
Okay.
think but I know there are endless options and, a wide variety of expenses there. So, but it's definitely something we know that needs to be addressed.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Yes.
You said that, you guys maintain the building and all that sort of stuff. I noticed last fall, there were a lot of power washing guys outside. Is that
Mhm.
something that the town did or is that
Yes,
something?
that was the town. So actually, kind of in anticipation of this courtyard renovation, a lot of the stones in the wall were loose and sort of falling out. So the town. What, I don't know what that's called, but they weren't in.
Yeah, it's
Short
a
up
similar,
the wall,
it's a
basically.
tenant landlord relationship, so.
I just didn't know because
Yeah.
they were obviously an outside company. and
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just didn't know if it was you guys or. it was-
that was through Tiger, yeah, but they wanted to make sure before, we do this project that, the wall wasn't gonna fall to the ground when that started, so. So it was washed, but it was also, all the stones were really re-secured. So yes, that project was just, and the grant was just approved at the Board of Selectmen meeting, and then next week at the Town Council meeting is sort of the final step. And then we should close on the grant, and it should happen over the summer. Which we'll see, but that's the goal.
Any other questions for Hillary? Is there anything else? I don't know.
No,
Okay, thank you for the excellent presentation and the great work that you guys are doing. Again, I've enjoyed the different events that I've gone to. I think renting it out to different, I remember I was at a couple of memorial service receptions and stuff. I think it's always a great idea.
it definitely, from our perspective, it is some additional revenue for us, but more than that, it sort of brings in whole new groups of people that, may not otherwise know about us or, would have visited whatever exhibit we have going on and, we've found that, some people will discover us that way and then, come back and take a class or join and become a member. So, so it's definitely worthwhile and I think there are limited spaces in New Canaan that kind of have that special feel that are.
Yeah, we send quite a few people
reasonably-
over that way
Yeah.
because if we can't accommodate them.
Right, okay,
If it's the right fit. And
Yeah,
it's
sure.
beautiful inside. so.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Any other question?
No, I'm just saying, great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, great job. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
So, thank you very much, and Patricia, welcome.
Thank you. And I have to start by apologizing for missing you last week, but it's actually a good opportunity for Hillary and I to tag team on this since we're both arts in the park. Visual arts and performing arts. And when I did send you the presentation, so
Never got it.
I mean, just now.
Oh, I can't get on, I'm not on the town network, so I can't get into it, so.
So apologize to the folks on the Zoom who don't have the file. But the folks in the room, we do. I wanted to give pretty much a brief update of our season and where we are as the town players of New Canaan at the Powerhouse Performing Arts Center here in the park. And then give you an update on the capital campaign, our building project. So those were the two primary topics that I wanted to cover, but I'm happy to answer any questions. So as most of you know, Town Players of New Canaan has been in town as a community theater for many years, actually began in December of 1946. And performed for about 40 years in the schools, Saks Middle School, and then also the high school. And the sets were mostly built in the Bickley Barn over on West Street. And I think they got tired of being gypsies, and when the town took over the park, the powerhouse that we're in now, and I think most of you know, was used for storage. And the town players in partnership, sort of with the New Canaan Society of the Arts, looked at these two buildings and said, gee, this would make a great theater. The town players actually raised all the funds at the time to convert the powerhouse into the theater. The town did not contribute at all, other than to say, to grant an indefinite lease. So to answer the same question that you asked of Hillary, we have a similar lease that we don't pay rent to the town, but we are also responsible for the utilities and the upkeep and maintenance inside and any improvements inside the building. The town has repaired the roof, we contributed jointly on a new boiler, but pretty much we've been responsible for the building. for the last 40 years, so 1983 is when it was opened. So we're happily going strong. Our mission is to provide a home for live theater that enriches our community and creates an opportunity for artistic expression, and we pride ourselves on being accessible to everybody. So we have open auditions for all of our casts. We welcome folks from all walks of life. If somebody comes to us and says they really can't pay for a ticket, we say, come on in. We have people with wheelchairs. One person always comes with their service dog. We're happy to have everybody come to our theater. I think it works pretty well. So I'll talk more about that in a community perspective. In terms of what we're doing, right now we're doing 6 main shows every year, our main stage shows. I don't think you've all been into the theater for performances, so I'm giving you a homework assignment. Sometime in the next 12 months, please come see one of our shows. Keith, I know you come regularly and I think you enjoy it when you come.
Great.
I think what I've been hearing from folks in town is that we've been up in our game. So we're getting a lot more repeat customers coming out of COVID, which I'm very pleased with. I need to put myself back in order here. So we do 6 main shows every year, and I'd say we are, since I'm aware of what the capacity of the house size has been for the shows pre-COVID, and now we are probably at least 20% more in terms of people coming to the shows than in the past, pre-COVID. We started to, I think, have better shows. We're having better shows represented by better talent. We, as a theater, are getting a reputation amongst the community actors of doing good shows, and success breeds success. So we're getting upwards of 30+ people coming to auditions for each of our shows, which is great because we get better talent that way. And this year, we figure with all the events that we've had, including the performances, we've had over 4,500 people come on an annual basis into the theater. So for what we're doing as a community theater for our size, we have 115 seats in the theater. It's very successful that way. So the shows that we do something for the holidays around Thanksgiving, sort of about around Halloween. So this year we did a version of Dracula, which is done by a very successful playwright named Kate Hamill, who actually teaches currently at Yale. She teaches playwriting at Yale. She's been very successful. We did that, and we did our holiday show. We're putting kids back on stage with adults, so we did the best Christmas pageant ever. That's sold out. Yeah, it was great. We had 17 kids, 5 adults. It was just a lot of fun. And those kids, most of them are all from New Canaan, so it was great to see our own kids, but we also had folks from Westport. And it's a really, really good experience for the kids. They feel like they're doing professional theater. So everybody says so they do theater in school. It's totally different when you're coming into a theater. It's intimate, your family, your friends, strangers are coming to see you. It works really well. And then we did Terra Nova, which was about the exploration of the Antarctic. And with that, we had 3 young women in their 20s who were all PhDs, either students or had their PhDs in some facet of Arctic exploration. And they came and spoke at the library. So we're trying to do events that put us out there in the community beyond our 4 walls. And for that event, Ellen Cravata still talks about it because 45 people signed up for it and 80 people showed up for it, which they usually don't have that happen. So they were putting out chairs. It was very well received. So we did that, and then we just finished with the importance of being earnest, which we did really well on that show. And we will be opening on June 6th with the theatrical version of The Shawshank Redemption. So that's going to be really interesting. So Joel's building a jail cell on stage. Yeah.
Okay.
multi-level, I don't know what he's doing yet, but it'll be fun.
Secret.
Secret, yeah, come see.
Be careful.
Anyway, all good, you know, it's good shows, and then we also are doing performances through the year that are a little bit different, so. Tess Tregellis, who grew up here in town, she's now making it as a comedian in around the country, she's out there doing her shtick. And she came with her partner to do stand-up magic, and that was a sold-out show that night, so it was great to have hometown successful person, performer coming back to our stage. So we're trying to do more of that. We know there's a lot of talent. People go off and become successful in New York or elsewhere. You say, come on back to your stage and show your community what you've done. So that's one of the ways that we try to bring other people into our community theater. So that's what we're doing on the stage. Any questions about that? That we're doing there? No, it's a lot of fun. We have a good time. In terms of other things that we do, we are doing some adult education classes, adult age 14, 16 and above. We're doing improv classes, and everyone that we've had has sold out, and that's usually about 20 people. This next one that's coming up in June, we had two sets of parents with their kids sign up. So I think that's gonna be really interesting. It's fun. We're also doing, Deborah Burke, the creative director, is doing adult acting classes, which has been great and is also sold out. So it's just good when people from the community and come back. And same thing, we had some teenagers come with their mom and said, we want to do this acting class because we think it'll be fun, and I want my kids to get some experience talking in front of people. So it's really good from that. And then from the kids program, since we don't have our own kids program per se, we are renting the theater this summer, as we did the last few summers, to Open Arts Alliance, which is very successful program that's run out of Greenwich. Although when they come here, we get folks from our community in Norwalk and Westport and Darien as well participate. And for kids in need, sometimes we've contributed scholarship funds that we've gotten from the Exchange Club to make sure anybody who wants to participate and comes and knocks on our door can do that. So we're looking forward to having them on stage, and we're going to do 4 different programs, 2 programs.
And right now, is the student.
And right now, this weekend, Laura Hastings, you probably know, runs the studio in town. She's doing her spring performance of Annie with her 20, 25, 30 kids on stage. So I'm not sure exactly how many, but there's a lot of kids in there. And right, and they're belting out a storm, so it's gonna be great. Yeah, so together, I don't know how many performances they've got this weekend, but it's fun. So it's another way, just bring more kids in, and, we charge Laura a nominal amount just to cover the utilities, we put the lights on in that theater and you see the meter going. So that's, about the programs, and as Hillary's done a great job, we also, working hard to reach out to other organizations in town so that we, again, go beyond our 4 walls. Excuse me. With the library, with the Exchange Club, the Rotary Club, the real estate agents, they're all looking for places to come have their meetings, so we're happy to do that, host them at the theater. We also participate and partner with Hillary on the Arts in the Park, so that we've got a table set up. And, we're busy. And unlike the Carriage Barn, we are an all volunteer board. We have no paid staff. So everything that we do, it's our 12 board members and our volunteers that keep the place going. I didn't include any of our numbers, but our annual budget is about 150,000 a year. So it's fairly modest for what we do. When as annually we applied to the Community Foundation for an operating grant. When they came and did their review, there was a gentleman there who was new to our community in the theater but had run one of the large equity regional theaters in Chicago for 10 years, and he asked me what our budget was, and I said 150,000, he said that'd be one of our shows. That would be one weekend show. So people are amazed that we do as much as we do with that, and that's largely because we're not paying rent on the building, we are paying all the utilities. But we're not paying staff, we're not paying actors, so actors, everybody, we're all volunteers, so it makes a huge difference. So that 150,000, about 50,000 of it is utilities, insurance, all the stuff, just to keep the building open. So that's about how it works. You do about another 30-40,000 on marketing. Because it's there, it's expensive, it costs something to put ads out there. And sell tickets, and then the rest is donors and ticket sales. So that's a little bit about our business of the theater. So unless you're, and then I need to talk, next year, we have another fantastic season. We're gonna have a special surprise, I'm not quite sure, we don't have a date set yet, but we're gonna do something with the school and the community. So we're gonna do some sort of Star Search event. And we're hoping, we've been working with Laura Newell, the Director of Visual and Performing Arts in the Canyon school system. I don't know, you've heard Laura Newell's name before?
She's new this year.
She is new, she's been there a full year, she's fantastic, amazing, amazing woman. Clarinetist, so she has played with the Hartford Symphony. But she really wants to partner, she sees the value of having a community theater and doing things together. So one of the things we're gonna do next January is host the high school one-act plays at the Powerhouse. So they're not lost on the stage at the high school, so we're trying to get that pulled together, I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah, so Laura's great, one of the things, but we're gonna do this Star Search community something to bring talent out. And use that as an awareness builder for the town players in Newfoundland, and also use it as a fundraiser for our capital campaign. So that's gonna happen sometime in the fall. So you're hearing it here first, because we're still pulling that together. And then we've got another great season. One of the shows for Christmas, we're not doing a holiday show per se, but we're doing Charlotte's Web. Parents and kids all thought that would be a great show to do, so we're gonna do something a little bit different. And then we're gonna do The Father. So I don't know how many of you might have seen the movie Father with. I can see him, yeah, he's gonna come.
Hopkins.
Thank you. Anthony Hopkins, yes, Anthony Hopkins. And we're talking, that movie has, the play, the story has to do with senior grandfather who has dementia, Alzheimer's. And you don't know that when you're watching the play. But we talked to Silver Hill Hospital again about partnering with them in some capacity. So we think that it's just from an awareness building, we're gonna figure out a way to work with them and some of the other groups in town on that. And then we're gonna close our season next year with Once, which is a lovely, warm musical love story. It's just great. So we're gonna have fun with that one. It's gonna be a really, really nice season. So that's what we're up to at the theater. And
I had a question, in
Yeah.
terms of your capital friend, I know that this
so let's
has
talk
been,
about the capital.
the Apple campaign, which has been going for some time. Congratulations on getting 2.5 million. The town will match up to 50% up to about 1.5. And they've committed that, is that this coming fiscal year or next? Do we know where that?
Yes, so the town has over 2 years ago went through the budget cycle and 500 and some thousand are committed on the books there. Right, so there was ARPA money, and when there was out of the town budget, another 250,000. And there were other funds that the town put aside for the campus for the public bathrooms. So that money's there, and then Todd Levieri and Deanna met with us and said, look, this is basically a $3 million project. we're gonna round up what we've already set aside to 1.5 million or 50%. We'll put that balance through next year's budget cycle. So it'll get teed up this year, at the end of this year by the Board of Selectmen, but it's in the 5-year plan now. So you can see a line item that says Powerhouse Capital Campaign, and it's in there. So it'll get voted on and go through the whole process, which will allow us to break ground in July.
Right.
That's the goal. That is the goal.
I know it's been a long time coming.
Right, not, we know that before this year.
I know it's been a long time coming and it desperately is needed.
It is.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the partnership with Tiger and, you know, the boards, all of them, as they've changed, right? They've all been very supportive. So that's been going well, and the patience to allow us to come up with a really good design. So it's worked well. One of the things also, Lucy Dathan, our state representative, was supportive, and a year ago, she submitted on our behalf a bond request, which the governor granted in December, so we got $100,000 bond from the Department of Urban Community Development, the Urban Act.
Urban Act.
Department of Economic Community Development, we got $100,000. So it's not an appropriation, it's an actual bond, and we don't have to repay it, and the state wants that.
Right, thank you. Are there any other questions for Patricia?
So the project's moving along, I do
When
have,
do you break ground, assuming, you know,
I'm hoping next summer,
this summer?
next summer,
Next summer.
2026. I do want to pass these around, I should have done this while we were talking, just to give you an idea of rendering.
Oh, terrific, yeah.
Right, of what it's gonna look
Sure.
like, a little bit different than the picture, so.
Right.
You can get an idea,
Yeah.
so we're making progress, I think it's gonna look really nice. And our plan is still to take the storage annex and turn that into the education center, which is gonna give us a whole lot more flexibility, both in terms of classroom space and also in this alternate rehearsal space, so we don't have to come by the Aggie so much, or Hillary.
Very impressive.
I'm pleased, you know,
Yeah.
and we are working with professional theater designers to help us envision how we actually use the space. So that's good. The other thing I brought with me, if anybody wants a copy, I have our capital campaign brochure, which explains what we're doing and our funding and all of that. So if anybody wanted a copy of it, I have that as well. If you want to contribute, that's also welcome to contribute. My other giveaway, I didn't bring enough for everybody, but just to show you how we promote the town. So Deanna actually wrote a letter, which we put in our program, which is nice to support the theater and what we're doing. So. And then
Thank you.
our donors, we list them in there, I finally, so we're not gonna be so quiet anymore. So you can see where our money's coming from, both for our operations. We've got our, people are being generous, both for operating funds as well as for the capital campaign. So you get an idea of the breadth, it's taking up 4 pages now for donors, it's great. Sponsors. So those you can keep a look at. And please come see the Shawshank Redemption. You're not for the faint of heart. Everybody thinks of it as the end, remembers the end of it, which is this really feel good moment. But there's some troubling bits to get to that feel good moment. So. All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your excellent work and thank you for your time.
Yeah, no, it's great to be in the park. It's great to be here, and I think it's working out well.
Right.
And I'm putting up the lawn sign. All right, thank you,
Thank
gentlemen.
you so much. Okay. Yep. Okay, now we're gonna do our yearly park updates. We actually have some very weighty issues, which we're gonna talk a little bit about tonight too. So, and we're gonna start with, Doug with Irwin Park, Dave.
Great, thanks, George. Before I start the Irwin Park report, I just want to say thanks to a bunch of the commissioners who went over to the Nature Center last month and walked the grounds with Bill Flynn it meant a lot to him to have you guys there and you had great questions and great follow-up. So I just want to say thank you very much for that. That was, that's a great deal.
They keep stuff gathering.
I know, it was a little chilly that day, I give you that. So thank you for braving through that. And also before I jump into what Dave and I kind of walked the property through. If you didn't go over to Irwin during April, you missed something special. Yeah. It was as beautiful as I've ever seen it. The people were all over the place. They were having little picnics on nice days. They were loving the flowers. The daffodils were about incredible. So if you missed it this year, I would just strongly suggest going to do it next year. Now on to, Dave and I walked the property last Friday, which was kind of a nasty day, but we didn't see a lot of people, but we had a lot of time to walk around and not get too sidetracked. One of the first things that John mentioned to me was the Garden Club's tree project has been approved by the town. So that's going to start as soon as I'm sure they get their plants and you know, we'll see some progress as far as that goes. Dave and I walked the area, so just to kind of see where it was going to start and go along the Wahackney Road. And it looks like it's going to be a really nice addition there. One of the things that kind of jumped out at both of us was the porta potty is one of the first things you see when you pull in towards the barn. And just wondering if there's a better location for that, just so it's not kind of like right there and diminished from the beauty of the barn and the park.
Suggest we put it up underneath the barn roof. You know, there's a little, as you, if you were going in the garage, we could put it over to the side and still have access into the barn.
Yeah, it's situated on prime real estate right now, so you see it as soon as you come.
Yep,
It is, that'd be great. I mean, if we can move that. and-
we can easily get that.
I know it's a valuable thing to have there since we don't have any indoor facilities.
Yeah.
So, you know, we just thought that would be a good thing. Another thing that we noticed when we were walking in the back of the barn was, of course, it was pouring rain at the time. There was a lot of drainage coming off the roof into that back courtyard, you know, where we store all those nets and all that sort of stuff. It looked as though there was a lot of pooling going on, and just don't know if maybe the next time we have a deluge, which is probably tomorrow, you might want to just go over there and just see it and see if there's anything we can do to mitigate some of that standing water. Because it just can't be good to have sitting around, I'm sure.
Yeah, because you've got a slope there in the driveway, and I don't know whether it can be excavated or.
Yeah, I don't know. I know they put new gutters on when they replaced the roof.
And they work.
Oh, they work. The gutters
They work really
Yeah.
well.
They're not, it's not going anywhere once it gets
Not
down.
Exactly.
And it's right next to the sloping driveway, so you can, I don't think it's that much effort just to bring it in and run it right down into the sewer drain.
The last time I was there wasn't anything stored in that area, right? We moved it because of the mushroom garden and all of that, yeah,
Correct.
okay,
And it looks great.
Then it's steam, get everything out of there.
right, yeah, it does look nice.
The next thing that we kind of noticed was there were, you know, a few doggy bags lying around the place. And whether maybe we could add one or two more doggy stations, it might be helpful. One of the ones that we actually walked by was non-functional. It was open, it was, you know, it just wasn't in.
You mean for the bags themselves?
For the bags themselves, yeah, because there's one like at one far end and one at the other far end, but as Dave alluded to, sometimes, you know, they don't.
They don't go
necessarily,
on schedule.
yeah, they kind of aren't on the schedule. It's not a major thing, but it's something that if we can do for little or no cost, it might be worthwhile.
We'll see, we'll get the animal control guy, he takes care of them.
Great. On a really good note, the moss mitigation has been unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you guys get high marks for that because, you know, it was really a problem and it looks great now. It really does.
More than what we've done. Fairness was a really dry fall.
And that helps
It
too.
helped knock it back a lot.
Well, we've had a wet
So,
spring and it
We've had a
doesn't
wet
seem
spring,
like
it
it's
just
cropping up.
hasn't quite got back.
So that part of it.
We'll take the credit.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Take it.
Yeah.
No, I know you guys have been keeping an eye on it, so we appreciate that. The benches that we walked by, were pretty much covered in lichen and moss and stuff like that. So maybe we could get a power wash or something just to clean those things up, because I wouldn't sit on it.
Right, Irwin Park will be our next one to do this coming winter. We try to get through a third of our benches throughout the parks each winter.
Okay, these are in need.
Yep,
They're definitely in need.
it's our next place to go. But that won't happen until winter time.
The only two people that we actually ran into in our walk around the entire park actually was a member of the Beautification League. And she was mentioning about the invasives. So it's not just something that we see, it's something that a lot of other people see as well. So if there is gonna be a plan, then maybe we should start thinking about it and what we're gonna do over the next year or so up there. Because
The garden club has been working on a plan.
they have, okay, and they'll probably come in and let us know what they're gonna do.
They briefly mentioned it and, we've been working with them. They mentioned it in their update that they were working on it.
Okay. And then Gore's Pavilion, we walked around the whole outside. It could use a little TLC on the outside, I think. There's some paint that's still, kind of peeling off the sides. There's probably some weed whacking that can be done along the pathways and things like that. But it's a great little building. Dave and I both, looked in, checked it out, and I know it's run by the Historical Society as far as the usage and whatnot. John is gonna give me the contact, so I can follow up with them and see exactly what the usage is there, because it's a great little spot. It's got great parking, it's a private area, and I just think it could be probably utilized more than it already is.
Does it have bathrooms?
It should,
Couldn't get in,
yeah, we couldn't get in, but
but I would imagine yes.
yeah,
I mean, because if it had bathrooms, I mean, I almost think
You
I'm
could
gonna
move
make
it,
it public access, so there'd be, bathrooms where they porta potty.
but it's more of a
They
reception.
wouldn't be set up ADA compliant or anything like
Yeah,
that, just because that's
you'd
the
have to
size
update
of it. Yeah.
but I am gonna follow up with the Historical Society and find out a little bit more about the background and stuff, with what they, how they use it, how you sign up for it, whether they actually promote it at all, so.
I was really
Yeah,
impressed.
the hours.
Yeah, we don't even know that, so.
Yeah, it's a
So
good
that's,
little-
it's John said, the Historical Society has the keys to those,
Yeah.
into those questions. Lastly, before I get on to the bigger issue, do we have security cameras around the barn?
There is some in the barn.
There are, okay, we didn't see any, so we just kind of we're just wondering, because we're storing a lot of stuff there now, so. It's one of those things where you'd hate to see something happen that we didn't, weren't on top of. And lastly, the big news up there is the Irwin House has been slated by the town council. They approved to demolish it. This week, I don't know if they've been up there yet, but the environmentalists were gonna go up there and, look at what they have to do as far as mitigating any problems that they have. But there will be bids going out for the demo companies. And as far as right now, the future use of this site, we do not know what it's going to be used as. But when they looked at it and the cost to renovate that building was gonna be way over $1 million. It just didn't make sense.
Right, that was just the exterior.
That was just the exterior, and then to make the interior ADA compliant, I mean, the whole thing was going to be very, very, very expensive. And as George liked to say, it's a house, it's not a building. So that's kind of the real big check mark up at Irwin. We're gonna see that building come down.
Any questions for Doug? Doug, thank you. Excellent report. And I would just also state that as the news of the Irwin House being demolished goes around town, if you all get questions or anything like that, feel free to direct them to myself or to John. Okay. So in any case, next, Waveney, Susan and Tim. Tim.
Yep, I'm here.
I know Susan.
Yeah, Susan, I met with John.
Okay.
Week ago or so, and Susan's away, but, so some miscellaneous updates, I won't read verbatim, but the update is here on paper, the one like the big park update. So Copco Field officially opened a week ago, May 7th, the boys varsity baseball team opened it up, the field's complete, as you can see over there, construction zone is still sort of around the field, but that's will gradually be handled, but about 4 baseball games are planned for this season by the team. And then over the summer, baseball will continue and other sports will be used on the field in the fall, and we'll go from there. But happy to see that it's opened and it's going on. So pickleball, as we'll recall, there were 4 lighted courts were approved in the budget this coming year. And hopefully construction will start in the fall on those. And a pavilion near the existing restrooms were also approved and plans to complete the pavilion next year as well. The playground, as you probably recall, the adult fitness area, that equipment has been installed for a little while now. There is still some old equipment from the old adult fitness area that is still in place there. That's hoping to get removed. As far as the playground itself, the public fundraising campaign continues by Friends of Waverly Playground, and they're doing some events, things like that to continue to raise money, and the town has applied for a steep grant for that as well. The benchmarks, those were the sculpture benches that I know were about maybe 2 years ago that were first presented by the Conservancy, but 2 have been installed. A third one we approved that's here now, but not yet installed, and John reported a concrete base is waiting to be put in there. Right, so 2 are in, the third is here, but they look great if you haven't seen them. And the jogging and walking trails, those improvements have been made. So thanks to you guys for that. Specifically the trail at South and Farm Road had been rebuilt, and that looks good. Just jumping down, flag football continues to really be popular. I know from friends and other parents who've got a lot of kids. They're using the field for that. Platform tennis, some general repairs and maintenance is being done in July to be ready for the fall, hopefully. Ryan's been crushing it on new mower that's been used to stripe the rose garden, so shout out to him, because good work there. And beyond that, there's some upcoming events in the fall. FCF cross country races there again, and the Caffeine and Carburetors event that we approved will also take place in October. So let's kind of run down of Waverly Park. Any other questions?
Congrats on the 4 pickleball courts. I know that was a long time coming.
That and the pavilion are both gonna be nice additions.
Yes, absolutely. Any questions for Tim? Great. Tim, thank you. Appreciate it. And now we will go on to Melanie on fixing the.
I have some allergies, so I apologize if I have to talk a little bit and try to do that interruption. There's really not a lot of changes this spring. I think that there's a lot of work to be done to get the park ready when the weather changes and all the sports starts happening in town. So the team has been very busy. At Dixon, as you know, is a very, very small playground, a little bit of a green area. There have not been any changes since we reported last fall. And the playground structure is up to date with all the maintenance. It's small and cute, and it's pretty underused, so it really keeps up very well. In terms of need, the playground continues to be very popular. We had the yearly inspection in March. As a result of that inspection, there's a few things that have to be repaired. One is one of the little gates at the playground for the little kids. And the other one was a hook in one of the swings, and that's all being fixed and replaced as we speak. The cornholes, which has been an initiative of last year that we approved, are not being installed. There has been some heavy rain last week.
Not to interrupt you, but they were installed today.
You did,
Yeah, right. Got about. You want to have something.
After our meeting, okay.
Just lousy weather, so I didn't want to keep them outside.
Yeah, no, we talked about
I know
that.
there was some urgencies.
I was there with my boys, so I didn't inspect Leon's scooters, and we had the place is impeccable. That base that you guys worked on was perfect, and we're just asking about when that was going to be put in place. In terms of the baseball fields, as we know, a couple of them just opened, so those 3 fields, Big Field, Medic, and Tampa Little League, are all being used and they're in great condition. There are 2 small sections of the fences, one in the big field, I laid my notes, and the other one is by the pickleball. those sections have to be repaired. John is in the process of receiving these, usage is not affected at all. As you remember last spring, something similar happened, and it's part of getting the parks up to get them ready for the season. The big thing is the irrigation project. We've been talking about that for a while. There's finally a contract that's signed and in place. And while the plan was to get the work done in the winter, this has been a really intense winter, and so it has really, the weather has not made it possible. So in considering how Mead had been used in the spring, tennis, baseball, pickleball, and seeing that the same contractor has other work to be done in town. John is planning to have, that contractor come by in the fall. And he's gonna gauge exactly what time in the fall based on signups and activities and membership. And the goal is to be able to do that work without disrupting the usage of the facilities. Because that irrigation is going to have to go through the tennis courts and other places, which I learned is dirt clay, and so it's kind of it's gonna be an easy project, but also something that is gonna have to make sure that we're not interrupting a heavy season. In terms of tennis and pickleball, I know it's one of everyone's favorite topics. The season just started. We usually give the data on membership in the fall update. But the programs are running very well, very popular, and people have been adopting the app very well. We talked a little bit with John about that. It's called Reserve, and it's really the best app out there. Other places in town use the same app, which for those who are just starting, it might be a bit confusing because they have to make sure that they are making their reservation, with the park department and not with the Weekend Ride, for example. But we have the attendant that they are helping people and making sure that everyone is directed where they should go. In terms of litter and the cleanliness, again, the same with Irwin, people go there, walk their dogs. We also have spectators come, residents and out of town spectators. So we still are carry out, have that policy in place, but still, John makes sure that we have personnel that comes and visits the parks during the sports season, very early, every day, 7 days a week. And they come and make sure there's anything that has to be picked up and there's nothing left behind. In the summer, it's a bit of the same, we do the same, but because we don't have those sports activities happening, there's more flexibility around the time of the day where those check-ins can happen. And so that's something that we continue to monitor. Those doggy bags, as John said, St. Bronson, sometimes people throw like regular garbage on those, and then people that come with their bags. That continues to be something that we continue to try to educate residents and have people be respectful of using those containers for the doggy bags. Again, similar to the Irwin update, there are benches and picnic tables, and they're all in great conditions at Mead. I think that that rotation that John explained, 30% to 50% of those benches are taken indoors every winter, so Mead already was part of that rotation, so everything is really up to date. Things are taken indoors, power washed, pressure washed, and there's some sealant for any product that's necessary to apply to extend the outdoor life of that's being done. And the last update, a miscellaneous update, but there's plenty of roots that have been exposed due to the weather at Mead Park. There's wonderful trees that provide a great canopy for the kids and people who want to have a picnic under the trees. But some concern might not be safe, so, John and his team decided to apply some mulch there. So, the aesthetics have been improved, and at the same time, you know, it's safe to step in there and, it's okay for kids to run around and it's just provide a bit of a safety and a visual, enhancement to that.
I want to give Brian all the credit on that. That was his idea and his guys that got it all done. So,
Yeah, it's the guys.
And I applaud you because every time I go to the playground, my kids, I see the baseball field or there, and, there's always, the presence of someone, I think, usually it's you with someone, so, I know you guys have been working very hard, so maybe it's not such a event, but there's a lot of really work to get the park up to speed. And the apple cart is one of the favorite spots in town, and,
Doing amazing business.
yeah, I was gonna say that it's always crowded, always full of residents or visitors that stop by, so. Everyone is really enjoying it, which is a great thing.
In terms of garbage pickup, what's the apple cart's role around their area?
They do around their area.
Basically the patio.
Just the patio, I was wondering if they
Which is-
literally did kind of just around.
Any other questions for Melanie?
No, the late tennis twice over there already this weekend. It was good shape.
I played pickleball 3 times there.
Is it gonna be open tomorrow, you think, or?
A lot depends on what happens overnight. The radar right now looks like it's pretty well gone.
Yeah, I
And one of the
think
forecast is better.
question will be dry enough.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Melanie, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Keith, go on us.
Okay, so Tim turned it over to me because he did his thing. I want to point out, just so you know, that color does matter. Years ago, members of this commission voted to have the sign repainted with that blue and white that you see, and I showed it. And it really makes it pop. I was thinking I was gonna have also a photo of the old sign to see what a difference it made. So I try to match my headline in the same color blue. Yes, just so I'm not just a tax lawyer, I do have a little. aesthetic side.
You're an artist.
Okay.
You're an artist.
So as you know, there's an effort underway to develop a master plan. We've had, 1 meeting a month, and we had a walkthrough 2 weeks ago. We have another meeting actually tomorrow morning. We collected all of the contracts, basically our leases, which govern the various parties using the park and what the limitations are. We looked at the original grant and really, there's no severe restriction on making changes, subject to respecting the existing lease agreements.
Right.
We put together a long list of aspirations, which came from each of the different groups that will go through that are participating in the park, plus all the neighbors at theirs. And then, over the transom came the ice rink, who has said that they actually would love to be in Kiwanis Park. And basically be the same area where the Change Club has their Christmas trees. And it might be possible that, if they'd be willing to set up after Christmas. But I don't know if they are, so that's kind of just out there. And then the last thing is we collected the usage data, which is basically what this presentation is composed of. You had asked George about capital improvements. And the only one we've been looking at last year was something about maybe doing a basketball court again. And I think you did get that in the budget, did you?
I put the best, there was 2 things for Kiwanis in the budget, which triggered the master plan discussion.
Yeah, so
We had 50,000 for a splash pad, to have one designed there, and we also had, I believe it was 200,000 to rebuild the basketball court.
yeah, so have both of those two kind of placed in abeyance pending resolution of the master plan.
Correct. Okay, that's kind of what I thought.
All right, so just going through some pictures. In this park, there's so many things going on. First, I'll mention the New Canaan Community Preschool. that has been around longer than the park itself. The previous owner had already leased this out to them, so that's been going on for years. It has programs for 3s and 4s. It has a legal maximum enrollment of like 51, and they pretty much hit that or very close every year. In fact, my wife reminded me, my son went there way back when, and they really kept it up. I mean, it actually looks better than it has, I think, the play area in years. So it fills a certain need. There's the beach pond. We actually have gone through these usage numbers these are the numbers from 2024, because obviously we don't have the numbers yet for this year. So there's no reason to go through those again. The YMCA summer camp is huge. Again, these are the same figures we've already been through, so I won't spend any time on that. I did put a slide to Pat George Bennington and the other members of the Exchange Club that to point out that like 1 out of every 5 families in New Canaan buys a Christmas tree there. So that's getting a lot of usage during that 6-week period on about Thanksgiving. A couple of weeks starts the work starts a couple of weeks before Thanksgiving and ends on Christmas. And then the Girl Scouts, again, their usage predates the creation of the park. They have a lot of girls who participate in this. They have the Girl Scouts and the Brownies and the Daisies. So they have 189 registered girl members, 40 adult members. They've got something going on all the time. I started walking my dogs and I would kind of almost beat the Mary Bee, and often there'd be some little brownie or daisy or something going on over there. But because you don't hear about it, if you're kind of past that point, you don't realize how much is going on. We know about the community garden project. That's the next slide, because we approved it. It hasn't gone underway yet. But when I asked her about, what kind of support do you have for this thing? She went through and she has 100+ New Canaan residents who in one fashion or another have expressed an interest in participating.
Right.
And then again, there is the ice rink, which now seems to want to be there. So a lot of this kind of goes to the point that I guess the previous chairman was quoted in the advertiser years ago of saying, "Oh, this park is underutilized." But I think when you actually get to know the various things that are going on there, you actually realize this is a highly utilized park. For being this very small park that doesn't really get that much funding or attention from the town, the beautification league or conservancy, there's all these different things going on there. It has a certain rustic charm, particularly for either the Girl Scouts or the YMCA camp. You go back there and there's the amphitheater and these things, and you feel like you might be up in the, the Adirondack somewhere, it's really pretty cool.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
yeah,
Just a quick comment about the ice rink, because I was on the commission when we voted to put that at Wavy, and there was 2 reasons why we put it at Wavy. One, Eversource, the transformer, that's where the power could feed in very, very easily. Whereas with the other locations, like Kiwanis, I think the Nature Center was another location, a few others. Getting the power feed, because it's all about the BTUs, was going to be 3 or 4x more complicated. So that's why Wavy. And Wavy, obviously, some of the neighbors around Kiwanis had some objections to that.
Yeah.
Particularly night lights and stuff like that. So again, but it was really the power feed that made the decision for us.
Yeah.
So if they want to have further conversations, that's fine, but just know that and Gene, good, Gene, are you on?
I am here, yes.
Yeah, you want to comment further on that one?
Well, I have explored what it would take to get the power into Kiwanis. It would probably be about $75,000, and obviously we would have to fund that.
Right. Whereas with Waveney, it's already there, correct?
Well, there was a station there, but they Eversource had to replace that transformer, the lines with that, had to replace that transformer. And they did that without charge, because they were going to get more usage.
Okay, all right, thank you, I appreciate that clarification. So, are there any questions of Keith?
I have a question, I think it's a more of a background question. Why is it that a pass is required for Kiwanis? On the one hand, we're aware it's not being that utilized, but so what is the background with getting a special pass?
You still need a pass, if nothing else, for liability. Because by getting the pass, you're agreeing to the waiver.
And is that because of the pond?
Swimming, yeah, so you need a pass just for the
And
swimming.
the pond
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah, it's a safety issue.
That pass is for the whole year or just for the summer?
It's for when the pond is open for swimming,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
It must be water quality checked in that pond.
We check it, we inject chlorine into the pond,
With Clorox?
well, we use chlorine bleach, but it's not Clorox by any stretch of the
I'm
imagination.
leading the witness here because we used, when we first moved to town, we used it and we used to see the maintenance guys go out there with a jug of Clorox. Now, that was years ago.
Moving on.
We inject it into the water, it's well fed, but we have a well that runs 24 hours a day, to fill the pond,
And it's filtered and
it's not filtered,
It's not tested.
it's tested, we
Every
do
day?
test it. Yes,
Oh,
and if we have a heavy rain. It will most of the time fail because of all the bacteria from runoff, that's one problem, it happens with lakes and everything else, but.
Yeah, and then I'll just mention they rope off, I guess, like right across the middle of the pond. So the front part near the pavilion is the beach, and the back part is part of the YMCA camp. So you get dual usage out of the pond. That's right. And I mentioned one other thing which I didn't know. So there's this stream that goes on one side, which is the property line. And all along that side, particularly as you get to the end of the far end of the property, is a wetlands. And I had this idea, a couple of us about, well, let's put a kind of trail, let's kind of complete the trail. And go around the property, have a lovely trail along this stream. Well, it really floods and floods enough that you'd have to have one of those elevated ones that cost like $1,000 every 10 feet. So that's probably not gonna happen, probably won't be in the master plan, but who knows, if anybody knows if there's an idea about how to do that in a less expensive way. It's something that a number of people were interested in. That's all.
Thank you, Keith, thank you, any other questions? Appreciate it, I look forward to your meeting tomorrow, which I'll be there. One thing that's on the agenda that I asked Dave to comment on is the family fourth, here's some updates there.
Yeah, I'll do a really quick update for the team. All right, objectives, safe and fun experience. We really want to increase the total sale of passes, especially in advance. We also wanted to explore new sources of revenue. We've got 6,000 people in the park. There are other ways that we can absorb the expense of staging the event. Safe and fun, Russ Kimes is on our committee and he is in charge of safety and security. Excellent preparation is being handled by the experience and what we call a well-oiled machine. He will have the command truck on site. We'll also this year have enhanced communications and new preventative precautions on roadways are being introduced because of the incident in New Orleans. Increased pass sales. Pass sales are accessible through 4 channels: online at the Park and Rec website, mail cutoff date June 25th, and we've sold, John, what, 20 more, 30?
At least 20,
We've already
and
sold
that's
them.
without any public.
Yeah, without any
publicizing.
public already.
Just people coming across that.
It will be available at Walter Stewart's all during the weekdays and weekends. We'll have 2 pop-up locations, and you can go to the Park and Rec department itself and get a pass. We are currently on the verge of securing electronic payment processing remotely so that we'll be able to take credit cards at our pop-up sites. And that will reduce cash and lower risk. And we've utilized our communication channels. We wanted to reduce the number of no pass attendees, people that just walk in or drive in, because that's a loss of revenue. And we're trying to get our arms around that. There are no refunds for a pass, so if it gets rained out, just keep your pass, and it says it right on it, keep it for 2026. And then we're exploring new revenue opportunities. As you know, we're going to be charging a pad fee for the food trucks this year, and we also have a beta effort around doing some merchandising. Caps, t-shirts, blankets. Let's see, I'm just going through it, I think. Nothing really, we're gonna have a meeting with the town on May 27th to discuss safety, security, parking. And on promotion, if you go to the town website, you'll be able to see under community our new website design, as well as the website design on the Park and Rec website. Press release is pending, Greg Riley review. We followed by weekly content, things like the top 10 things to do or to bring, the do not brings, and if you want to make a donation. You'll start after Memorial Day, you'll start to see in-store window posters and a big train poster up. The owner will put out a letter. And we will do the P&R email for email blasts and awareness. We have a new logo.
Oh,
You can't really see it.
Yeah, it's unfortunately. I don't know how to shrink it down.
That's okay. And we're very excited about, being and seeing how the new branded merchandise, Susan Holland and Maria Weingarten, fabulous job. Absolutely fabulous job.
So you don't call it the family fourth anymore?
No, it's a town indicated fireworks or town fireworks, because it may not necessarily happen on the 4th.
Yeah.
Deanna wants to have it on the 4th every time, but some of the problem is that the people who work the fireworks have to work during the week, and they do this job on weekends.
Yeah.
So it's really tough.
It's also tough with scheduling the vendors, food trucks and stuff, and they just.
If it falls on a Wednesday, it's really, really difficult, so we've started.
We always got more compliments having it on the weekend.
Right.
This time being the 4th is on Friday, and then next year being the 4th is on Saturday.
Right. Exactly.
So I hope at the next meeting, I'll bring in some t-shirts and hats and blankets.
Right.
To show you.
Then we would be able to sell those? Are we, is that permitted?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, in the park.
Absolutely.
With proper, it has to be approved with proper permission.
Okay.
So it's all right.
Yeah. I'm just gonna, not to be a dead horse, but I mean, that thing's been called the family fort for 50 years, at least the whole time I've lived here. So, it's not nothing to change the name.
Not my pay grade.
Changed the name unofficially a couple of years ago because it never had an official name.
Never has been.
Yeah, we called it the Family Fireworks.
Right.
Yeah.
Family
25
fireworks, family fireworks, 4th
Yeah.
of July fireworks.
Right.
The key word is fireworks.
Yeah, but the family fireworks I like.
Dave, thank you. Any questions for Dave? All right, John, we'll move on to your report.
Okay. We covered some stuff, but just so everybody knows, I'm giving permission to the police to do some basically overnight training in the park. They have a couple drones and they need to do some nighttime training for their search and rescue and that type of stuff. So towards the end of May, they're gonna be here overnight. As it was said, Copper Field opened, the field itself went well, except they lost to Darien, which wasn't fun. Yeah,
Glad I didn't stay for that.
exactly. Get ready for the pool to open. That opens Memorial Day weekend, which is right around the corner. So they've been working to install the second pump. You can see that the pool is filled, filter in the water. We'll be turning the heaters on next week. Try to warm it up, and we'd love to have some regular warm weather. As far as Kiwanis is concerned, the highway department goes in, we buy sand. They come in and spread it, they remove what algae and muck that they can from the pond, and they did an overall great job cleaning up the place. So that's in the process of being filled. As Keith said, the tennis courts are open. We got through that fairly quickly. As far as the irrigation is concerned, we met with the contractor and the designer today, and our main switch is going to be after school gets out, we're going to have them, if we get approval next Tuesday from the Board of Selectmen, we have the money available, but we're going to have them start after school gets out in June, doing Saxon Connor Field, replacing all the pipes, sprinklers and controls there. And then the end of September, we'll go into Mead Park, and they'll start with the main lines there and go from there, so. Other than that, I sent you everybody an email about Senate Bill 6. Unfortunately, it passed as far as I'm concerned, unfortunately, it passed last night with the two lines that we wanted removed. So now it goes on to the House of Representatives, so any help we could have in that case would be. It would help, so, other than that. Good for questions.
Can I just get a quick question about the dirt piles and what they're doing in terms of like grading in the grass and then seeding and also the timing of all that?
Yes, the big pile that you see out there is the topsoil they removed from Capo Field. That was all screened and is placed there because that would be used for doing the work on all the outskirts.
Right,
They would love to have had it done already, of course, so that they could get seed established. They have to have seed established for us. So they will be spreading it and seeding it, but if we don't have great take over the summer, they'll be back.
that's what I was wondering about, because I was thinking we're getting kind of beyond a good seeding time. And then
Exactly.
I was wondering if then they had a commitment to
They have a
Like,
commitment to
get
grass.
a
Yes.
certain.
Yep. Yeah, it's part of the contract, so.
Anything else for John? My report is very simple. Our next meeting is on June 11th. I want to thank you all for the excellent reports and the time you took to get into those. The park obviously our crown jewel, and we need to work on them. I think we've got some exciting things going on there, and I think with the Irwin House, there's a lot of potential. You know, I think our public-private partnerships with the Garden Club can yield some very interesting ideas and thoughts that we will be contemplating in the months and years ahead. So I'm excited about it, personally. Are there any questions or comments from the public?
Angelo Cerbone raised his.
Good evening, gentlemen. Can you hear me, folks? Can you hear me, folks?
We'll hear you.
Thank you. I am in a budding neighbor at Kiwanis Park. My wife and I attend all of Keith Ritchie's subcommittee meetings for the master plan development. I was a little surprised this evening to hear him talk about the resurrection of the ice rink at Kiwanis Park.
We can't hear you too. Your voice is very muffled.
Let me try to get closer to the microphone. Is this better?
Still.
Yeah.
This is better. Okay. So I was a little surprised to hear Keith Ritchie talk about the resurrection of the ice rink at Kiwanis Park. Because it was never discussed in any of the subcommittee meetings. The only reference to it was that the neighbors were against it. And I just want to state for the record, the voting neighbors are against the ice rink in Kiwanis, and we are united to stop you from doing that. So please, stop this nonsense. Thank you.
All right, so I think your comment is no ice rink at Kiwanis, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, all right. Noted, thank you. Okay. Okay. Are there any other comments from the public?
No hands are raised.
No hands are raised? Okay. Appreciate everyone's time. Is there a motion to adjourn? You want a second? Second, okay. All those in favor? Yeah. All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.